Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, um, I don't skirt around this, man. I just don't, I don't skirt around this issue. Like I see so many pastors, Christians with their channels. Let's face it, most of what people hear, or a large portion, tend to be on the internet and on YouTube and stuff like that. And listen, I believe personally that Donald Trump is the Antichrist, the biblical Antichrist of the Bible. And I've shown objective signs, at least 30 of them, things that you can look at and see. I have no idea how time keeps passing by and they see Donald Trump in everything, doing all the things that the Antichrist is supposed to do, but they can't see it. There's a veil over people's eyes. And even though this is what they've been waiting for, they still don't see who's at the helm. Not that they can't see we're in this time, they're like, he's ushering in. He's ushering in. That's what they keep saying. He's ushering. He's bringing us to the spot. And I understand with Jared Kushner and, if this is the fulfillment, which I believe it is, of Daniel 9:27, there is room for error there. But, and he shall make a covenant with many. Could that be Jared Kushner, though, and not be speaking about the Antichrist? But I know what it says after that. And on the wings he shall make it desolate, and even into the consummation, right? But in any case, I can adequately identify the Antichrist and the false prophet who makes fire come down from heaven. I mean, think about that. Who else makes fire come down from heaven? I'm out of breath, suffering with kidney stone today. Just been not bad, but stressful times for me. School, groups, just a lot of different things. But I haven't made a video like this lately. And you probably know what channel this is. And sorry. Takes your breath away when you have a kidney stone. He does a good job here of showing what's going on. I'm going to let this play. I will comment on this. And listen, do you guys know what X is? Do you know what X is? Do you know what the Freemason symbol is? Do you know this fertility symbol, as above, so below? The satanic sigil. You'll see it in this. So X, that's what X is. It's satanic. And when you heard Elon Musk laughing when Jordan Peterson mentioned Memphis, why do you think? Because it's in Egypt where everything began. And so, I don't know, you want to say, well, it's Babel, but the first major power, and there's a lot of symbolism from there, and they're having their peace plan of any place on earth in Egypt. So let's listen to what is being said here, and the guy who does these videos, gets into a whole bunch of different conspiracy theory type thing. I'm sure you've heard him before. They take him down and then he comes back up somewhere else. I don't know what the deal is with that, but let's just listen. Let's get into this. And you're going to see, if you're not one of those person who skirts around, but you're also not that type of person who calls things out too quickly. I didn't say anything until I was sure I saw And so here we are, and the 10 kings and all these different puzzle pieces are coming together. So
because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. In a world of coincidences, we get this. And of course, these coincidences that we constantly see are not really coincidences. So it wasn't a coincidence that Donald Trump was in Egypt for this ceasefire deal where all these world leaders got together to sign a treaty that would begin a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. Or should we just call them Hamas, or should we call them by their real name, which is the Mossad, being that Hamas is the creation of the Mossad, and pretty much what you see when it comes to these fictitious wars are governments murdering their own people and committing genocide against their own people. And a lot of
I do believe there's a genocide. There is, but I'm not saying I agree with everything this guy says.
the stuff that's obviously been going on over there is for the greater Israel expansion, and what you're going to see with that massive prison that they're building out that's going to be connected to this smart rebuilt Gaza Strip. So Donald Trump is being called Cyrus the Great. These are some of the billboards that are being featured and seen around the earth right now. He is being compared to King Cyrus. He is being compared to Alexander the Great. So I'm sure it was just a coincidence while Donald Trump is there signing this massive treaty, which he's getting all the credit for. While that's occurring, there was a concert that took place right in front of the pyramids. You may remember Anima. I've covered him in the past. Anima, who has his Genesis project, the end of Genesis. I'm sure that's not biblical.
Don't forget what Jesus said. He said, "You reject me, but when he comes in his own name, you will accept." So, you know his approval rating over they think he's a Messiah. It's pretty close, if not, some actually believe that. They gave him a silver crown in 2023. Okay? They think he's a hero of heroes. Cyrus, Alexander the Great. And I think what you're seeing on the screen right there, man, that's actually pretty cool. On the inside, the holograms that they can do on the inside of that's the sphere. I was just recently looking at that, but a huge ball there. It turned into a pumpkin, in any case.
All. And of course, his concerts, if you want to call them that, are all about using massive amounts of frequencies on his audience while conditioning them into transhumanism. And I'm sure it's a coincidence, too, that if you go to Anima's Instagram account, instead of having a nice portrait of himself, he has a portrait of his eye. So he's at the pyramids. He's obsessed with eyeballs, right? Like all these celebrities, all failed optometrists who constantly love to hold a hand up over one of their eyes. And of course, we know the all-seeing eye of Lucifer that is on the back of the dollar bill features that one eye symbolism as well. And as I've mentioned in the past with Anima, again, transhumanism is the name of the game. He even has pictures of himself connected to the Internet of Bodies, kind of like what we saw in the movie The Matrix. Well, now we're seeing The Matrix come to life with everything that's happened since the pandemic, where we're actually seeing man and machine merged, and we're actually witnessing these big tech companies tell us that the future of the smartphone is a brain-computer interface, which means that it's inside of your body, and that by 2030, phones will be obsolete. Well, do you think that that means that we're going back to the old days of horse and buggy with all the control they have over everybody with their cell phones and technology? Well, of course not. What it means is they have to condition you into the next phase of man mixing with machine. So I'm going to play for you some of the stuff from his concert. I might have to remove the audio for copyright purposes, but that's not the point of me showing you this. What you need to pay attention to is all the blatant symbolism. The twin pillars, the capstone on the pyramid being lit up. And you'll notice some other things as well, including the gigantic demonic AI that is looking out over the crowd.
So what I mean about so supposedly Donald Trump is there, and this is taking place. I'm sure maybe this isn't the first concert they've had like this at the pyramids, but think of the symbolism. Now you know what they mean by the triangle. Well, you just look at the pyramid, that's it. But look closer. This is the satanic sigil right here. The X and then this. I forget its exact shape, but it will show in just a bit. But look, X. Do you not see that? Elon Musk, the false prophet. This, Donald Trump, who makes his hand signals with the triangle. Oh yeah, he just does it thousands and thousands of times. It's just totally normal. And then you see him with Elon Musk, and they're both making it. Yeah, totally normal. So you know who they are. Okay? What more do you want? What, they have an agenda, or they would not be doing that. For those who know and believe in God and see these things, we're getting very close. You can just look at things like this. You can just look at stuff like this. The symbolism is everywhere you look. Everywhere. I can go and open up my dryer, my dryer for my clothes. And inside it, right in the back, is a triangle. Excuse me, with an all-seeing eye. It actually has the eye. I forget, what is it? Maytag? I think it's Maytag. But yeah, it does. Or is it Frigidaire? Frigidaire. Go look at Frigidaire.
So that's some transhumanism at its worst. I mean, this is energy harvesting, what these concerts really are. Of course, if you understand energy harvesting and what witches actually do and Satanists actually do, they harvest energy. And this right here was a ritual of the consecration of the old world into the new world. And that's exactly why Ani Mill was there performing while Donald Trump and all these leaders got together to put on this show, pretending that they're signing a ceasefire. And again, Hamas is an expansion of Mossad. These militaries don't fight one another. You don't.
So if any person to perform in front of these people, they pick this guy, who is a Mason, or whatever you want to call it. Because you can see by his, I don't know, it was his Instagram page, but as it said in the beginning of the video. You know what the funny thing is? When you look at this, this is the way the world is now. You go to a concert, right? See that there's like a concert? I don't want to back it up, but at least 50% of people are holding up their, you've seen that, eh? It's like they have to just record it. They can't be there and experience it, as if they won't be able to get a clip of this later. That's what the world's turned into. I've heard musicians talk about that. They don't like it.
See them fighting each other on the battlefield. All you see is destruction of innocent human beings' lives in the name of war. Of course, they have to present it to you as if there's a war going on and not mass genocides being committed, because they don't want the people to rise up against these psychopaths who are responsible for all of it. So if you look at some of the stuff from those clips, there's a few things that need to be pointed out. Very clear that we saw the twin pillars, right? How deliberate was that? The two pillars. Of course, those are the pillars from Freemasonry. Yahin and Boaz. We always see these two pillars prominently in Freemasonry, whether it's artwork, Freemasonic artwork, or it's actual monuments that they have out.
See this right here? You know, the Star Trek-like symbol? Makes you wonder about Star Trek, too. That's a Space Force thing that Trump has made on those patches. Go look. I've showed you those patches before. Sorry, I'm chewing, but this is all satanic.
In the open, or if you can actually get inside one of these Masonic lodges, you could see it for yourself. In addition to the black and white Masonic checkerboard floors, we always see these two pillars. And these two pillars, Yashin and Boaz, represent the entrance of King Solomon's temple. They're symbols of divine guidance and stability. What else did we see in that clip? Well, we, of course, like I said, saw the capstone on top of the pyramid lit up, right? That, again, is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. That was deliberately lit up on purpose because it represents the completion, the connection to the divine, or for them, their connection with their god, Lucifer. And speaking of Lucifer, you may have noticed how blatantly obvious this was in the sky. The way they positioned the lighting behind those two pillars was to make the sigil of Lucifer, a symbol I've exposed many times in the past. You could clearly see it right behind the two pillars, right in front of the three pyramids. Now, you may have also noticed that some of the lighting was deliberately done next to those two pillars as well, which clearly represented the phoenix rising out of the ashes. You could see how it depicts two wings. The lights on the left and the right of the pillars depict two wings, and that's, again, the phoenix rising from the ashes. This is something that Anya uses all the time in his transhumanist performances. The phoenix rising, these men and women connected to machine, man and machine merging together as one. So this was clearly a massive ritual that was deliberately done, because remember, everything they do is deliberately done on certain days when certain people are there. You're not going to see Donald Trump in the front row at what you know, a common person would look at this and say, what is this, an Illuminati concert? You're not going to see Donald Trump out in the open there. You're not going to see other world leaders out in the open there. But they were all in attendance. This was deliberately done, as Donald Trump is now being hailed as the great peacemaker, as the modern day Cyrus the Great. Again,
Isn't that crazy? It's not being talked about, really. Like it should be in the Christian world. We have a man who, by the way, he makes truth fall to the ground. That's him. That's true social. What a joke, man. True social. Oh, man. There's things I want to say, but I can't say. But, he prospers by deceit. Do you understand? He does it with his mouth. And it's not his intelligence, it's the power of Satan. So who else do you know in a short period of time stopped 8 wars? And then I'm not sure whether the Ukraine war is going to end up in World War III. You can rightfully call it World War III already, but it's a different type of war. What I mean is kinetic. Is it possible he stops this one too? Even if he doesn't, he stopped 8 wars. There's never been a man like us who can make war with the beast. And you still don't see it. The funny thing is, I don't understand, like, what more of the symbolism and the prophecy do you want? What will it take for you to see that who he is? And he was what on what's it called? You know, You're Fired. Remember that? on that show. There were 14 seasons. So you were sensitized or to that, desensitized to him, to the idea of Donald Trump. Just like everything else they do very slowly. And because you see him, how could it ever be someone who's so popular? But isn't that just like the way it would be? He's right in front of your face. And he's tricked you so much that he's almost got to the very end of time and you're still fooled. I don't know if I want to play any more of this, but I just wanted to show you who they are, what they do, where they go, where they plan things. Nothing is by mistake. Nothing's by mistake. All the politics you're seeing nowadays are all set up. I can't say was it that way with World War II, World War I, after, before? I don't know, but certainly it is now. Look at, you see the governments of the World Economic Forum getting every single country. We penetrated the cabinet of Trudeau. Remember that? I live in Canada, and they're passing 3 C bills. C2, C8, and C9 maybe. And it's overreaching powers. They're going to pass it, you know it. So we have the same laws as the UK where you can arrest someone. They come to your door for posting something. That's what they're doing. So I don't know what else happens there. It is exciting times. And so we'll just have to look out, endure, look for the mark of the beast. I do believe we need to endure. And Revelation isn't about the Jews, just like it's about the world, man. It's about a lot of different things, but in any case, maybe I'll play this for a bit more, see if there's anything more interesting in this.
And Cyrus in the Bible was renowned for allowing the Jewish people to return from Babylonian exile and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. And that's who they're comparing him to. And of course, now we're hearing about peace. And what do we know the Bible tells us about peace? The Apostle Paul speaks of a time when people will say peace and security, but then comes sudden destruction upon them. So biblically speaking, we can look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5,
I wonder
verses
what
1
that
through
means.
3. For you yourselves
Like
know
when?
perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. So this whole performance by Anya is obviously symbolizing the new world. And again, the new world order that is coming. Man and machine. His concerts are nothing more than massive transhumanist rituals. That's what they are. Conditioning of the audience, using frequencies on the audience to condition them without them even realizing what they're going to be accepting in the future. I don't know who would go to a concert like this and say, oh, well, that's really great. There's this massive demonic thing with a red eye creeping out behind the stage, glaring at me, but it doesn't look like it wants to party. It looks like it wants my soul. Well, better have another cigarette and another beer and pretend like nothing's on his face directly into that. Because again, remember, you will not be able to buy or sell without the mark. Think about what the world looked like during COVID, where they forced everybody to do everything online, to run and depend on the internet for food and water. People were getting their groceries ordered online and delivered to their door. They have to go and pick it up outside of the store. People were forced to speak to their relatives on their phone, doing video FaceTimes. All this stuff connected through the internet, and the digital ID will tie into heavily with that. And that's part of the reason I believe that they're bringing a lot of us back onto YouTube isn't so that we could help inform you. They're obviously, the AI is going to be studying me, studying other people out there who have exposed this for a long period of time. They're going to be data harvesting. They are going to be studying what we're talking about because they want to know, what do we know? What do we see coming? How are we warning people about it? And people ask me all the time, they say, well, what in the world can we do to stop it? You're going to have to make a choice at some point in time. They're going to have to pull back from the technology. That's all there is to it. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that you don't think that way. That you say, well, I got to live with my tech. I can't go back to living, like a little house in the prairie here. But the reality is that we all should be living that way. Because part of the problem in the world today is that everybody's dependent on technology. You get all your information online. Whenever
Look, I'm the robot. I'm the head of the robot here. What he's saying is true, and they will eventually come for us. They'll come for every one of us. And a lot of us who are interested in the end times wonder, how are we going to be persecuted? How are they going to come after us? And I think, just like you said, they'll find all the Christian videos. They probably already know. They're probably all marked down. But it's what laws can we get in place, and what... COVID was a beta test, as I heard and I believe, to see how you and I would respond. What would we refuse? What would we definitely not accept? And they adjust.
you have a question, you ask the Google machine or you ask AI now for the answers, because nobody has any knowledge on their own. Nobody has books anymore. Everybody's dependent on the internet for everything, and they've made it that way. That's why they're pushing for the digital ID now. And that was what the entire push during COVID was really for. Yes, it was about mixing man and machine. We know about the nanotechnology that they got inside of people's bodies. We know that they're dumping it on us from the sky every day with things like smart dust. But what we need to pay attention to now is how are they going to condition people into accepting a digital ID when the government comes out and says, look, you can't have a job without a digital ID. Though most of you probably don't know, because most of you think I've been gone for a couple of years, but I've been talking about this pivot from COVID to the immigration psyop. The whole purpose, the whole reason you don't hear anything about variants anymore is because the real actual data that they got showed that not a lot of people were getting the COVID shots, especially after the first round of them, when they were being told that there's new variants and they were being told that they needed to boost. So what happened? They said, look, we need a digital ID, and these people are not buying it for COVID. They're not buying it with social distancing and contact tracing. We need another story. And they brought in the immigration side. Suddenly, every single country, with the way we have technology now, every country in the world was suddenly having an immigration crisis.
This is going to be a worldwide thing. I'm just going to say one more thing and then God bless. How will they do this? How will they get people to take the mark? And I'm just taking little guesses, okay? I'm not prophesying. I'm not doing any of that. Well, I'll tell you a clip that I saw. I have a close eye on 3i Atlas, okay? They've been doing this alien narrative for a long, many years, right? They have. And so whatever is going on with that, it's just, while this astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who could be with the CIA, he said the stock market will crash. When what? When what happens? When they realize there's something other than humans and they think it's aliens? It's quite possible that could crash the stock market. They need something to do it, right? Just a thought. That's it. I don't know. And if you're laughing at me, then that's fine. But these days are very strange. Very strange. And like Jesus said, beware of deception. Don't be deceived. You know what's funny? It's not funny, but I don't like connecting, using, I don't really like not getting messages, but looking at my messages for videos. I do make comments on videos, but in any case, I was speaking with someone who has a very large following. And he told me, this is why I don't like these messages anymore. Just stay healthy, stay away from them. He told me that because I didn't believe that the 12 tribes in Revelation are the black people in, I don't know what he said, the States, but probably the world. He said that those are the 12 tribes of Israel. And he said, you're not willing to look, so on Judgment Day, you're not going to be saved because of that. And because I say this, now you know the truth, you're going to hell too, because you don't believe that black people are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is a kind of deception that's going around. And hey man, even if that was true, that's not how we are salvated. That's not how we're saved. I just thought I'd say that. It was just a discussion I was having with this person just recently, and just anyways guys, you see the times, you see what's happening, and I hope you enjoyed this video.